This special edition podcast is brought to you by the Pro Bono Institute. PBI is a nonprofit organization that supports, enhances, and helps to transform the pro bono efforts of major law firms, in-house corporate legal departments, and public interest organizations in the U.S. and around the world. Welcome to PBI's podcast, The Challenge of COVID-19, Lawyers in Action, Episode 2. I'm your host, Nihad Mansour, PBI's Assistant Director of the law firm Pro Bono Project. Our last episode gave a broad introduction to the challenges posed by legal professionals in the wake of COVID-19. Jim Sandman, chairman of the American Bar Association's COVID-19 Task Force, Ron Flagg, president of the Legal Services Corporation, and Jackie Haberfeld, Pro Bono Counsel of Kirkland & Ellis, provided their unique but consistent insights. Today we discuss what a single firm, Paul Weiss, is doing in conjunction with others in the industry, as related by Brad Karp, Paul Weiss's firm chair, and Michael Gertzman and Robert Atkins, co-chairs of Paul Weiss's litigation group. I asked Brad and Mike to share their thoughts about how Paul Weiss looks at the way COVID-19 is affecting the public's need for and access to legal services, and what legal professionals can do about it. We hear from Brad first, then Mike.
The pandemic is affecting basically every citizen in the world, and it's having a particular impact right now on the United States, really in all 50 states. You see the news every day about the millions of Americans who are infected, the tens of thousands of Americans who are dying. But what we're focused on right now is the fact that there have been tens of millions of Americans who have lost their job, who are now filing for unemployment benefits, and they don't have viable economic futures. In response to that, the government at the city, the state, at the federal level, and a number of pro bono organizations have created emergency relief programs that are geared to be accessed by these tens of millions of Americans, really the most vulnerable citizens in America who have lost their financial security. And it occurred to us that one role we could play is to make accessing these 1,000 programs much easier for the millions of vulnerable Americans who are desperately in need of help.
Our perspective on this is that the legal community has a unique role to play and a constructive role to play in helping the most vulnerable access the relief that's become available at the federal, state, and local level. There are a number of ways as lawyers we can do this. We can identify the programs that can help those who are in need. We can explain those programs in plain and simple language. We can assist people accessing those programs via the application processes. We can update on a regular basis the programs and identify new programs as they become available. And we can try to mobilize our multilingual colleagues to translate the information to make it accessible to as wide a range, a group as possible. Our goal as lawyers, as we see it here, is to break down the barriers so that people can get the need that's available and unlock those resources for them. Our view is that no one should go without relief because they don't know that the relief is available or because they can't navigate the complexities of the relief that's out there.
Paul Weiss concluded that the best way for it to break down barriers and provide assistance was to develop and implement an online pro bono and legal aid resource portal on the Paul Weiss website, aptly named the COVID-19 Relief Center. I asked Bob what went into creating that.
It began on a weekend after the pandemic became prominent in everyone's mind and the stay-at-home orders were being issued. And Brad, as chair of the firm, put out an email to the entire lawyer population of the firm asking if folks would be interested in contributing to a pro bono project to make relief programs aware to our client base and the public generally. And perhaps not unsurprisingly, but nonetheless inspiring, 400 lawyers volunteered. And we harnessed all that time and energy to dividing that group into specialty groups to research all 50 state relief programs, New York City, New York State, federal programs, and programs being made available by charitable organizations, principally in New York and Washington, D.C., where our primary offices are located. And based on what was really around-the-clock work by hundreds of lawyers, we were able within a week to stand up the COVID Relief Center website, which you now see is in operation. From there, we made that website available to hundreds and hundreds of our clients, approximately 150 pro bono organizations and public interest groups, such as Sanctuary for Families, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Legal Aid, and on and on. The website is not static. It's not frozen. Rather, the team of lawyers that you heard us speak about is at work every single day, monitoring developments on the state, regional, local, federal, and charitable levels, and updating and supplementing the website in real time so that people who visit the site, companies that do, public interest groups do, get the most recent, up-to-date available information as these programs evolve and change and are expanded.
It was exciting to hear Bob describe the broad reach of the website and the widespread use all across the country.
We have received 30,000 and frankly more than 30,000 unique visits to the Relief Center, far exceeding at least anything that we have posted in the past. We've gotten visits from all 50 states, and that is in part attributable not only to the work done by our crew, but also the fact that a number of clients and pro bono partners like the New York City Bar and Volunteers of Legal Services have actually posted a link to the Relief Center on their websites and have had that distributed to their membership and constituencies.
The COVID-19 Relief Center has led to additional opportunities to help the public in this crisis. Bob shared more about those partnerships.
We have built on that outreach and the availability of this Relief Center to take on more targeted pro bono projects arising from the pandemic with many of these same clients and pro bono firms. So just to give you some examples, we are partnering with the New York City Bar Justice Center, which has an existing hotline, but is going to be transformed into a pandemic hotline for people with questions about how to find and apply to relief programs, both charitable and governmental. We at Paul Weiss are preparing the training for that exercise, and with many other members of the bar will be operating the website the hotline to answer questions. We've also entered into a small business legal clinic with Lawyers for Good Government. We are launching a program to find online training with Volunteers of Legal Services for folks particularly interested in the unemployment benefits. We've even done a clinic with Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts at NBC to alert artists and freelancers to the availability of relief programs and unemployment compensation, which historically has been out of reach to folks not on traditional payrolls. And of course, in addition to activities such as those that are directly related to relief, there are many other pro bono litigations that pre-existed the pandemic but are now heavily impacted by it. So for example, we are one of the groups of firms providing pro bono counsel to immigration detainees who have now not been released and are exposed to and in fact have contracted the virus. We are handling some of those cases directly and also providing amicus support. In addition, we're actively engaged with respect to the impact of the pandemic on voting rights and ensuring that, notwithstanding the social distancing, that folks have access to the polls or voting by mail. And lastly, perhaps most painfully, we are working with Sanctuary for Families to provide assistance to women who are the victims of an increasing level of domestic violence. So that is just some of what we're doing and expect to do more as the weeks and months go on.
Firm Chair Brad Karp had more to share about how Paul Weiss is well positioned to help.
Over the past couple of years, really since the advent of the Trump administration, our firm has spent hundreds of thousands of hours pro bono reuniting separated immigrant families, promoting sensible gun control, safeguarding LGBTQ rights, protecting reproductive freedom, securing voter enfranchisement, and now we're dealing with the dramatic, pervasive impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. It's in our DNA. So I think we're very well situated to do this. Last year, we spent about 130,000 pro bono hours on the causes I outlined above. We're on pace to dramatically increase our pro bono commitment this year. All of our litigators jumped right in, but the rest of our firm jumped right in as well. Right now we have dozens of partners, hundreds and hundreds of associates working on this project. And as Bob mentioned, we've been able to attract a number of really scores of other law firms in the United States and around the world, and scores of public interest pro bono organizations around the globe as well. So we're very, very, very pleased to be in a position where we can play a leadership role on this initiative and really make an impact to improve individuals' lives, individuals who are the most vulnerable in our population.
The legal community is coming together in more ways than one to maximize impact and face this global crisis. Mike and Brad both agreed that the impact of COVID-19 will require long-standing partnerships and collaborative efforts to address the legal needs of the community ahead.
Look, the resources that Brad and Bob have described already that we've been bringing to bear are tremendous. Hundreds of lawyers, thousands and thousands of pro bono hours. It's terrific. But this crisis requires us to marshal resources not just across our firm, but really across the whole profession. We already are working, and many people in pro bono organizations and philanthropic organizations and clients already are stepping up. But we're looking for partners across the bar, across our clients, to work with us and to stand up with us to work on these efforts to help the people who are most in need. The resource center, the relief center that we have on our website is mainly focused on the needs of Americans, but we will be working internationally with organizations like the Cyrus R. Vance Center for International Justice to enable law firms outside of the United States to provide pro bono legal support in their countries. There are nearly 1.5 million lawyers, dedicated, talented people in the United States, each of whom makes enormous contributions already in the pro bono area and to their clients and in their communities and for the institutions that they're involved with. But we've heard from many of these lawyers and many law firms around the country who are eager to step up and work on these problems and help make the relief that's available accessible to the people who are most in need. So we're hoping to partner with as many people as possible, and people have been tremendous already in stepping up. And so we're very hopeful that we'll be able to do a lot, not just ourselves, but with partners around the legal community as well.
We hope as a result of this podcast and getting the word out that more and more lawyers, more and more public interest organizations will join with us, and together we'll be able to make a difference in really helping these individuals get back on their feet. This is going to be a very long struggle, and we're in it for the long haul.
Thank you to Brad, Mike, and Bob for their thoughtful remarks and leadership on the coronavirus pandemic. Visit paulweiss.com to access the online COVID-19 Relief Center portal that provides a list of hundreds of relief programs available by jurisdiction. The website includes guidance on accessing benefits and also provides details on eligibility, direct links, and points of contacts for the relief programs. Developments in the coronavirus are moving fast, but the legal community is adapting to move with it. Please watch for more COVID-19 focused episodes as we continue to shine light on the legal sector's response to this evolving crisis. We also hope that if you're not already doing so, you will join with those already taking action. More resources on how to help are available at www.probonoinst.org. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and be well.